Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Here we are live with you today, ready here on this, September 10th. Tomorrow is September 11th. It's hard to believe in a way that we are this far into the year of 2024. And I feel like, since the Lionsgate portal, for me personally, it's been a real potent opportunity for up-leveling, a lot of challenges, a lot of feeling like pretzel knots and having to kind of figure out our way out of those things, whether they're limiting beliefs or circumstances in our lives. So let's just see where we go today with people's questions. How are you doing, Anita?
I'm doing great this morning. Thank you, Ashala. So great to be here with you both. And I already pulled cards on Cass's question here if we want to
Super.
pop
All
it
right,
up.
so we're going to put this question up, which is, will big stores, basically big box stores, Costco, Loblaws, etc., exit in the future, or will they be replaced by smaller mom and pop stores? Well, I know the answer is what's in my future.
Okay, well, so even though I pulled cards on it, I really feel like a lot of the things right now when I'm tuning in, we get such similar answers flowing, or I feel I do, which is like what do you mean by future, right? Because there's short term, there's medium term, there's long term, and I get different answers for each of those, breaking it down even further, because it feels like short term, there's roles for both still.
Oh, sorry. Hold on. I'm doing a different layout. I'm trying to get the speaker to go in the front as you're speaking, but it's not working. So I'll go back to this. Go ahead, love.
All good. All good. Okay. So yeah, short term roles for both still, certainly because we have communities that have been built around small mom and pop shops, which is the lovely feeling that people have and supporting local. And I hope that there's more of that comes back right now. And that feels like that is happening, but that it's almost like this bridge time, the two systems in place, medium term still feels the same. It's the long-term picture where that's where it feels like all brand new. Yeah. It's almost it's like the mom and pop shops can exist if you want them to, but they're almost more like passion shops is kind of the wording that it came. So like a mom and pop shop traditionally was filling a need in a community. What I'm feeling is like those shops that continue to exist on a small scale are someone's deep passion of I love crystals. I'm going to have a crystal shop. I want to sit in this crystal energy and I want to share it. Like just a love for that. Or I love connecting lightheartedly with people all the time. A general store that might be you're filling a small community's needs for everything. And by community, I can mean like a neighborhood, even in a neighborhood within a city. When I say that, like that general store, it very much feels like that need will never leave. We'll always have that, and certain people who want to fill that role of these passion shops, passion projects. And then on the other side, like the box store, I'm not seeing it not existing, but I'm almost feeling more, and we touch on AI sometimes. It feels more like a distribution center, almost like an Amazon distribution center where, and because we know that we don't need to have any poverty in the world, it's really a distribution issue, along with other manipulations, of course. But if we have distribution dialed in a way as efficient as Amazon shops that do use AI and robotics to very swiftly sort, then that work is done and we get the basic parts that we need for the things that we can't grow, let's say, on our own. and everything else. So that's how I feel into it and see it.
Beautiful. I love that. Yeah, thank you. And passion projects, right?
Yeah,
Where it is,
exactly.
it's people being, that gets into a whole other topic, which is really about people being allowed to grow into some of their greater gifts and be
Mm.
supported in that. Our culture has been a lot more about, look, where do you fit in the machine?
Mhm,
Just find your spot in the machine. Sort of like all that's available to us is this big factory model, and you got to plug in somewhere.
mhm.
But what I'm hearing your expression is that it's going to be more about, us plugging into ourselves and our unique set of skills and abilities. So it's not just going to be like one size fits all, one career, one store, one this. It'll be, very unique
Yeah.
representations of what people's true gifts and skill sets are. And I think that's a big healing for all of us. So we go from just where do we get our food into a much bigger conversation, as we always do, right?
Yes, and it's exact like we already see it happening. So whenever we're discussing this picture of like or looking at a future, what the future is, it's like we are right now dancing between all the possibilities. We are creating it. So what are
Yes.
we putting our energy to, and what do you want to see when you're asking a question like that too, Cass? It's like tuning in, each of
Mm.
us for ourselves. What would we like to see? What are we creating? What are we envisioning? And we are so powerful, we're making it happen. Even if it doesn't feel like it, we're really amping up that energy, and more we'll see that we're envisioning coming to fruition.
Mhm.
I mean, imagine if those big box stores are huge stores like that are like big markets. Like, okay, this is the pile that I asked, will these stores such as Costco and Loblaws exist in the future? And this is, will smaller mom and pop shops take over? And it really looks like both is happening.
Mm.
However, the big box stores is very like, this is the sovereignty card. There's this whole new energy. The spiritual warrior card is coming in. And then the empress. I mean, it just feels like maybe these big box stores are filled with like all of these goods from the area because transport is harder to get food here. And it's like maybe they're actually going to start to really coexist together.
Ooh.
And um, that's like that's kind of what I see. And there's like a healing that really happens in that.
Mhm.
Say,
Yeah, so like a distribution center, like I was saying, right? Then that
Mhm.
that is
Mhm.
serving both. Because especially going to need it, even though I was saying long term, we especially need it until like way until we're living very differently.
Mhm.
That we need to figure out distribution, and so it's so great that
Totally.
it's coming through for you here as well, as like this is just up leveling what is existing systems, which
Mhm.
again, um, let's when we're tuning into what we're envisioning, isn't that great to be able to use an existing system? It goes faster then. So it's not this,
Mhm.
oh, we're
Mhm.
waiting for a future that's going to take forever. It's like, no, let's use what's already in place. And that's why I was shown Amazon, because that is one of the most already high functioning systems of method of distribution. So
Well, high functioning in maybe a certain type of method of distribution, but not
yeah,
necessarily in ethics of where they're sourcing their goods and materials from. And
and treating employees that might not
oh
be
yeah,
there yet. Yeah.
so I feel interestingly, what Crystal was saying about that there's going to be different things, but they're all in one place,
Mm.
like a larger, maybe sort of like farmers market type situation. And if you notice, I always like to say we vote with our dollars and we set trends with where
Mhm.
we put our money now. So for example, if you notice a phenomena, I've been going to farmers markets for 30 plus years. and they were small back in the old days, and there wasn't a lot of really good organic produce. And so, of course, they got small again over the pandemic time as well, and almost got cut back. But I do feel that they're coming back. And what you started seeing in response to that was that local big box stores started putting things like, oh, local section. This is stuff that we've sourced locally. Now, if we hadn't gone and started shopping and saying we're voting with our local dollars, we want to spend our money in our community, we want to buy from people close by, we want to cut out all the unnecessary energy of those longer supply networks. It's just not sustainable. Like, in order for it to be like that, someone somewhere is suffering for that to be so cheap that it's cheaper for them to bring produce from all the way across the world to us. That does not make sense, right? So I'm just about done here. So that's the one thing, is that we are looking at voting with our dollars now and setting the trend that we want to have more access to local produce and products, for example. But also, there's something about, like, Costco is a great example. It's a buying club. And even with local produce and really high quality, sustainably produced organic fruit and vegetables and nuts and seeds and whatever, you can get into, when you buy larger quantities as a group, a buying club, that creates discounts that then are spread to everyone. And it also creates guaranteed consumers for the producer. So we got to work out this balance of, if we want it to be more sustainable, more local, more community-based buying clubs, I think we start doing that in our communities now. And guess what? Those big players, they always eventually start leaning the way the consumer leans. So here we go. Crystal, you had more to say about that?
Not really. I'm just checking in with those of you that are here, and I'm just making sure that we are streaming okay, and that there isn't any sound issues or glitching or anything like that happening. If you would just give us all sounds good, that would be amazing. Okay, let me look here quickly. Let me tune in again, because if this is the the smaller mom and pop shops, we're really learning now to fine tune and to hone in, like, all of these tools that we've cultivated throughout history of production, and being so, like, grounded. And it's not just about money anymore. It's actually like we were talking about, like, about our passions. Thank you, Angela. Perfect.
Yes.
About our passions and what really, like, lights our heart up, and how how the connection with nature and the connection with these smaller mom and pop shops, not just food, but textiles and home goods and stuff like that. Like, there's something that, like, we have actually cultivated the tools that we need to really keep these shops going. And we'll probably give the big box stores a run for their money, and then the big box stores are going to be like, yo, you guys are doing some cool stuff, like, let's get you in here, because we're having a harder time getting the other resources that we were able to get before. I also pulled a few just on what would happen with online shopping and Amazon and stuff like that.
Interesting.
What do you think, Mom?
Seven of Pentacles and the Knight of Pentacles. I think it's going to carry on. It's got a trajectory right now.
Yeah.
It's going to go for another maybe 7 or 8 years. It's kind of, but it's going to start to turn, like Anita said, it's going to start to slowly turn into something else. And I feel like we're going to get a lot more clear about what it is that we need. Mass consumerism is going to start shifting, because we've come into our hearts collectively. So we're just not going to be as attracted to, hey, I want 5 pairs of Nike runners and 3 Gucci bags, right? It's like people are going to be like, Crystal's like, wait a minute.
Well, people might. I mean, some people might. We're going to continue to see these
Totally.
separations and the different timeline shifts, and we're also going to we're also going to see new programs and new systems and new currencies and, like barter and value exchange and all of that kind of stuff too. So all of it, honestly, looks beautiful.
And look at this, folks. We've got 3 females here, 3 very strong women.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean us 3 sitting here?
I think so. Yeah, so we've got this very, very
Actually,
strong,
yes.
probably. We've got this very, very strong component of female-led entrepreneurship. So when you're talking about mom and pop, it's not that pop isn't going to be involved, but I really get a lot of design in the next 20 or 30 years. I've been getting this for ages, is going to be women creating new systems, new paradigm systems about let's collaborate. Let's set up these buying clubs and let's do things a little differently. Start small. These things, some of the most successful co-ops and buying clubs started with just a couple of families, 2 or 3 people. So start with maybe 2 others and get creative about how you shop. I agree with Crystal. I think there's going to be people that want it exactly the format that's there right now. But that also goes along with a lot of the other narrative about I want to just be fed. I want you to deliver me my groceries. I don't want to leave my house. I'm doing my online video games and my online work. And, I'm happy to eat whatever, you know what I mean? It's like, there's going to be people that go that way. And that used to really offend me. But now I see that's just a life choice. That's just a choice, a soul choice. And some people there'll be a percentage, but I think it'll be a smaller and smaller percentage.
Yeah, and this 7 of Pentacles came up, right, about the online shopping. And I was just thinking about it while I was shuffling, and I was like, maybe it's only another 7 years, and then it popped back out again. So, it could be very well true that, we're really only dancing in this way with this kind of online system for the next 7 years until it really starts to shift out more and more.
And when we're talking about everyone's passions, this is exactly what you were acknowledging there, Ashala, about how some might be so busy doing their online work. It could be video games, but it could be creating video games. But there's so many areas that they still need that quick delivery method, and it almost feels like everyone's needs can be addressed in that future model, whatever that looks like. Yeah.
Valerie has brought up a very interesting point here. She says here in the UK, the moment farms opened their doors to the public with farmer shops, along came the regulators clamping down on certain produce they were selling, and many closed their doors again. So I think what you're referring to, Valerie, I appreciate that, because what you're saying is, in effect, if we isolate into like a tiny little mom and pop farm over here and another little one here and another little one here, it's easier for the regulators to just stomp on that and be like, we'll put that out pronto, right? So I think this is what Anita and Crystal were both referring to. Like, we do, in a way, need to keep some kind of centralized scene happening, whether it's a local farmer's market. Okay, so maybe the farmers aren't bringing people to their farm shop yet. Maybe they still do go to a central place and meet. And they have, the farmers markets here in Canada, like, they're growing in their kind of sovereign independence and becoming an entity on the local economy. And people will not let that go. Once that's established, they're like, we want to be part of this thing. They've got these coupons for disadvantaged people. There's all kinds of incentives. They're helping with community gardens. So I think, and like Anita said, maybe it's not all out in rural places. Maybe we're looking at neighborhoods where people are producing or selling certain products and so on. So I agree. What I'm seeing in your question is we are vulnerable still if we try to isolate and do something just by ourselves. So hopefully that helps.
Yeah. Thank you, Valerie.
Yeah.
All right, Angela had a question here.
Yay. Okay,
There we go.
let's put Angela's question up. Was daylight savings time implemented to purposely throw off the internal clock of the masses?
Want to put your magic on there, Mama?
When will it end? This, you know what? I have to say, I've never looked at this question as a question. So I'm super curious. Let's pull cards on this.
All right.
I mean,
I
thought
can
about
start.
it, yeah, sure.
I pulled some. So first of all, I mean, I always like to tune in with my own intuition and then see what gets reflected in the cards. My intuition says, yes. Yes, it was a manipulation. It's like, why else? Yeah, and it was sold to us based on, that this is what the farmers need. And it's like the farmers, they're going to be going with the sun. They're going to be going with the natural rhythms of the planet, not of a set rule. And so it does feel like different perspectives have been brought to this. What I'm getting is like, much like you can find science articles that are peer reviewed that have exact opposite perspectives, I feel like there's going to be some people who feel like they've got science behind them and that it's helpful to adjust the clock so we get more sunlight into our day. But ultimately, it feels like a manipulation that's not even practiced in some places in the world, including places in the US where they just don't change their clock year round.
And in Canada too, we have places like that.
Yeah, so there we go. So,
for example, where I was.
Yeah, and the East Shore and the Kootenays,
yeah, so it just feels like it's inevitable to stop the clock change. And from what I've heard on like the just the logical side of news and everything, is that it's done in formation by time zone. So what I hear is that on the Canadian perspective in BC, let's say that we're on Pacific Standard Time in alignment with the rest of the spine of the world, the West Coast, because of business. It's not the strongest reasoning, but that's what I hear, that it's if when the US is ready to, that Canada would. But let's see what you pulled on this.
Yeah.
Crystal.
What do you feel anything with it, Crystal, jumping out to begin with?
I mean, my intuition on it like said that we sort of needed to have these time stamps and time constraints to push us in the direction that we went in. And now we're at the point where it's like that need for our mental sorting is coming to an end. And we're going to find a different type of value in creating these more natural, harmonious timeframes and systems coming forward. We're getting a lot more curious about time and a lot more curious about, connecting to different time zones in different parts of the world and learning from how different countries are doing it and the different even like rituals and connections that other countries have with time and that our ancestors have had with time. So we needed to see what it felt like to experience this sort of structure around time, to know the parameters of like, well, that isn't entirely working for us. So this 10 is the completion of how we were thinking about it. And this 10 is like sort of the new beginning of rebuilding an entirely new systems in even like smaller communities that honor the way that the community works best and the school systems. And
yeah,
is that making sense?
It is. Oh, school for sure.
Yeah.
So interesting. When I look at this card with relation to this 10 of Pentacles, what I see is the calendar system. I see our long-term Julian calendar, which is basically goes back to like Roman times, basically. And the calendar system is so askew already. So our measurement of months and days of the year, and there's just so many more beautifully synchronized with nature. I want to say more spiritually ethical, because that's what I hear you saying, Angela. Like this kind of false reality really messes with people's internal spiritual ethics of our natural systems, our natural rhythms. So I agree with Crystal in a way that it's saying, we've almost gone as far as you can go with that, where we're starting to bend like, okay, you're in this time. And then we basically say we're going to shift that twice a year just to what? Like, so I think that there was originally a Three of Pentacles is a collaborative, and it isn't a bad card. So I think that originally there was some kind of, I think post-war, we had a time where the farmers and the agriculturalists were like, okay, we're going to have a population surge now. It's post-war boom time. We want to produce all this food. And I think that the original impetus of it, maybe even it started after World War I think there was an impetus to rebuild. And I think it was designed as a temporary solution. That's what I'm seeing with this Three of Pentacles. I think it was designed just for an experiment for maybe 10 years, 20 years, 30 years maximum, to increase productivity of farmers, say in northern climates or whatever, right? So there was that, but then it went on like it was supposed to stop. It was supposed to just be a temporary thing that was done as an exploration to see if it would increase yields and have this effect. And they didn't stop it, because then we get into what Anita's saying, where it was like, oh yeah, actually, we think it's great that we can mess with people's internal clock twice a year and throw them off.
Yeah.
So it became, the controllers got a hold of it and we're like, yeah, we're and you said mass formation, like we're using this in that effect. And that came about around the same time that suddenly now we have like work hours established. We have school hours for school children that just don't even make sense. Like here in the north, especially the further north you go, like we're sending our children to school in the morning to be ready in their seats at 9 o'clock in the morning, and it's still dark out at like 8:30, right? So it's like it doesn't make sense. We're not operating based on the nature that we're in. We're operating on these big centralized power dominant systems. That has to go, and it's on its way out, because people are starting to become, we're existing outside of those parameters. People are training online, they're working online, they're living differently, and so the priorities have shifted. And I think we're ultimately taking back the comfort of being in the flow of nature more and less in these restricted, constricted systems. So
beautiful.
Let's keep pushing, Angela, to like get rid of, to legislate this right out. We keep hearing rumors that it's going to go. Can we say a time?
I'm going to pull on when it will end.
Go. That's what I want to pull on too.
It doesn't feel very far.
It doesn't to me either.
Okay, let's have a look at when it will end here. Thank you. Hello, everyone. Hello, Ricky, Angela, the big M. The big M, is it possible to maybe reword that question so that it's a bit more clear of a question? And maybe even a bit more for the collective?
Yes, that's exactly what I was going to say. Even wording would be great, but also that's something we could definitely pull on for everyone, since I feel like a lot of people can relate to it. So a collective.
Let's pull up Susan's question right after about spell casting in the future of language.
Love it, love it, love it, love it. Okay, so timelines here.
Around when is the, oh boy. Probably within the year.
Yeah. Things are at least starting to shift within that. I feel like we're going to be offered a different possibility of how it could look. And even like that whole thing about each
region.
Yeah. Like it being more sort of in design with the different regions rather than so broad spectrum. So it doesn't just end maybe entirely, but we're kind of like redesigning it. Somehow we've been given the opportunity to redesign, and sort of each person goes kind of inward, or each kind of region goes inward to figure it out.
I think it will definitely end because we're going to lobby for it to end. But
Yeah.
the point I think Crystal's making is we don't want to stop there. We want to get even more curious about how we can work better with how we organize time
in
and
general.
how we organize the ethics around time. Like, for example, you know, you go to Europe, you go to Italy in particular, people just they can't believe that you actually, like, they stop the day at 1:00. Or thereabouts, anywhere between 12:30 and 1:30, they stop the day and everybody goes and rests. Like, that is a cultural value that is honored all the way up to, you know, quite high levels of professionals still like do that and address and honor that. So we have the power. That is a country that exists right now, and you can go there and hang out, and they have banks and doctors' offices and all this stuff. And you know, you have to go pretty high before you get people that don't, you know, go along with that cultural choice. So we can build these things differently, folks. It's totally doable. We can restructure what a day looks like, what a work week looks like.
Yeah, many other European countries too. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sea Cat Lady. I was going to pause at some point here and say, I don't see Dawn here yet, but she says to say hi to everyone. And Sea Cat Lady says, Dawn says hi to you. Hi,
Awesome.
Dawn. Welcome.
And I love that Ricky's cleaning while listening.
Yes,
That's great to be productive. And it's like,
thank you, Ricky.
We're energy clearing with everybody through this, and you're physically cleaning. So
thank you, the Big M. So we're going to have a look at it just a little bit more collectively too, because a lot of people are doing this big work and are being propelled forward in it. And what is holding you and many of us stuck in places in that process?
And while our lovely oracles and healers are shuffling and divining on your behalf, on behalf of all of us, this is a perfect opportunity for me to make a big announcement. If you check the link below, you're going to see that today is the first day of our seasonal promotional sale that runs from today, September 10th to October 10th. And you can use the coupon codes that are in the links below, go directly to the booking page, and we have a special, which is 30% off a bundle of 3 sessions with Crystal and with Anita. So if you purchase 3 sessions of their offerings, and you can find the link below, use that coupon code and you'll receive a 30% discount on all 3 of those sessions. So as long as those purchases are made before the 10th of October, you can schedule them anytime in the weeks and months ahead. And we also have a 20% off discount coupon to be used if you're only booking 1 session with them. So if you just want a single session or 2 sessions, you can access that 20% off coupon code and purchase your session before October 10th. And there we go. So this is a great launch. And also, we have just done recordings that you probably have seen up on the YouTube channel. Anita and I did 2 recordings on one of her special offerings, which is Heart Math, and you can find the link below to go and view those recordings on my YouTube channel. And then Crystal and I just did an interview yesterday with her Conscious Evolver coaching mentor, the creator of this program. And Crystal is launching her coaching sessions on the platform as well. So you can
So exciting.
find the videos where you learn more about these offerings that these lovely ladies are doing, and also access the coupon code to make your purchases. So woohoo!
Yay! Thank you so much,
Yeah.
Mama.
And it's related. The reason I'm speaking about it with regards to this question in particular is that both of them, their very special skills and abilities are about exactly what you're asking. So this is something that we all need to work with. We all need to work with the things that have been holding us back. We've gotten to a place where we see that freedom is right there within our grasp, and that we are the ones we've been waiting for. It's the internal job. We talk about this every week.
Yes.
And now we're so blessed to have, first of all these amazing tools that these women have studied. Like, they've spent months and years of their lives studying these tools. And we have extraordinarily gifted integral heart-centered practitioners like Crystal and Anita to share these gifts with you. So jump on and access the sale, because this is like a rare opportunity. I think they're both worth 3 times the amount that we're charging right now. So yeah, this is our gift to you.
Thank you,
Yes,
Ashella.
thank you, Mama.
Who's going first?
Anita, would you like to go?
Yeah, well, right away, what I got that's a block is we have been, it's literally physical. So it feels like it's programmed into our DNA, and therefore self-sabotage in that our energy levels and we won't feel well right when we're trying to do the work. It's like, how did that happen? Here I was going along so great. You unearthed something. You're working through something, and then all of a sudden now I don't have the energy to do it or to face it. Like right away, it's not only a programming system within us that's self-sabotage, it's literally physically something we're carrying forward in our DNA that has already been passed through and programmed into everybody. So we're up against a lot. It's no small thing. And I'd like to remind people to pat themselves on the back periodically and congratulate themselves and look at how far you've come. And if you don't feel like you've come far, you probably have. You're just being hard on yourself, or you're just at that precipice where you'll be able to see a little bit more, shift that perspective. The other things that were coming through along with this physical health is the miracle of forgiveness was one piece. So how much are we, and this starts with ourselves, it's self-forgiveness. Who do we get maddest at? It's usually ourselves. And sometimes you're like, no, that is happening out there, but it's like, no, because I allowed myself, or this is the self-talk, I allowed myself to be fooled by what's out there. So I get mad at myself for believing in something that was either false or wasn't in alignment. I wasn't using my discernment, that it wasn't for me at that certain time. So there's a lot of layers with this. And the more that you allow alchemy to be a part of what we do on a daily basis, where we're really shifting things profoundly, allow epigenetics to overwrite old DNA programs and really release them. We're living in a very profound year this year and moving forward. So don't give up when you've already been doing this for a long time, because shifts are happening now. They've been happening along the way, but they're becoming more and more profound, more and more noticeable. So finding your practice and sticking with it as long as you're feeling that alignment, and allow it to shift as it needs to. There is no one size fits all. So that's where I'll leave it for you to take up now, Crystal.
I mean, so much yes to all of that. That is exactly what I got. It is spot on, actually, what I was thinking. and I have to say, I was having this conversation with Dawn yesterday, who has been one of my dear coaching clients now, and we've been doing a lot of such beautiful work together. And she's just like, I think I have it, and then I don't feel good, and then I'm just like so disappointed in myself. I thought I had it, and And it's literally like the systems. It's not just a thought or like an emotional thing. It's like the whole systems. And this is so beautiful here because we have 2 9s and then this page of cups. And so it's like we are so much closer than we know to true like sovereignty and stepping forward in such like grounded, empowered ways. And like you said about the making space, we're also learning through our energy systems, through the way that our body transmutes and processes stuff. We're learning to build parameters and become discerning of how we share our energy, of how we honor our energy and what we take in. And so we're learning to actually balance having health disruptions, having energetic disruptions, and totally kicking butt and really coming into ourselves. And the balance of all of that happens with so much tender compassion and curious, playful sort of discovery of our unconditional love for ourselves and where that comes from, and what it feels like to dance in the flow of going back and forth continuously between energy disruptions, health disruptions, and it's not in the mind anymore. It's moved into the body and into the heart. So we have these 2 beautiful 9s. That is that mastery and balance of really learning and working with our energy and learning what, like picking one thing at a time to focus on energetically and not trying to do the work all at once and feel like we have to be mastering everything all at once in order to be these like total sovereign, beautiful, empowered beings. Wonderful. Anything, Mama.
Well, okay, so this is very interesting, these 2 cards together, because on the one hand, it's like we don't realize, like Crystal said, how far we've come. And we are 90% of the way there. And as we get to that last
10%.
part, that last 10%, it's like when you go through a labyrinth, if you've ever walked a labyrinth, the final part of the walk, because you're trying to get into the center, right? So you're going and up and around and around and around. And then the last part before you go right in the center takes you all the way around the farthest outer edge. So you think, oh my gosh, I'm going backwards, man. This is like, this is getting worse, not better. I'm going all the way out. As you know, I thought I dealt with this stuff 10 years ago, and now I'm back there. Like, give me a break. Well, that means we are at that final hour, right? That 10%. When you're moving, you ever notice that last 10% of cleaning up? Hardest, right?
Yeah.
The last bit is in a way where we get down to the absolute core work, the most precious, deeply, deeply, deeply potent stuff related to our inner child. This is the inner child card. So it's going to feel powerfully intense. I want to bring in 2 quick little practices for you that can help with this right now that we're channeled in the last couple of weeks for me. One of them was in a session with somebody last week, and her guides basically said, when you're going into these places, because we literally, it's like going on a roller coaster ride, right? We're up, and then we're like, oh my gosh, now I feel, suddenly I'm having all these physical symptoms. I'm feeling sick to my stomach. I'm overwhelmed, or I'm having terrible anxiety, or I feel really like strangely ominous or spacey or whatever. And it's like what her guide said, give it 50 minutes, give it 50 minutes. So just don't make a choice about what's happening. Just try to go about your business and try to just allow it to be for 50 minutes and set your clock. And then at 50 minutes later, you go back and you say, am I still in that state? And if you are still in that state, then you can start to make choices about what the next steps are to work on that. But because there's so much moving through, it may be gone in 50 minutes. And they said eventually you're going to lower that time. So you give yourself maybe 15 minutes and then you check back in. And then you get it down to 5 minutes and then you check back in. So we're training ourselves beyond our, because once we have a lot of energy moving through our systems, we get scared and we go down old patterns of, oh, this is going to go really bad and I'm going to end up X, Y, Z, A, B, C, right?
And I have to control it, and I have
And
to
I have to
solve it,
figure
and I
out
have to
something
stop
to
it.
do
And,
right now, and I got to
Mhm.
stop everything because I'm in crises now, and I'm going to have a big problem if I don't come up with a solution. So the ability to create some buffers and notice that these things are moving through faster and faster and faster. That was one thing. The other piece is really cool, and it's something that came to me last weekend because I was doing some work around visioning and dream building, and I was feeling like I heard from guides the first thing I needed to do was acknowledge how I've up leveled, say in the last year, 2, 3, whatever. So I made a list of what was I calling it? Up leveled actualizations.
Mhm.
And so I created this list and I was like, these are ways that I've actualized up leveling. And then my second list was, instead of, things that I've got to fix that are wrong, I called it up
Or get done.
or get done. I
Mhm.
called it up leveling opportunities still to emerge. So these are areas that I'm preparing to up level. They're in emerging, and these are my opportunities to up level. And it felt so different to look at those lists and go, look at all the things I've done. And what's next to pop up from the bottom list to the top? It's just the next thing that I'm working on. So it takes away this idea that we're like, okay, well, yeah, I might have done some good stuff, but oh my gosh, look at how broken I am. Like, I can't believe I've got this good stuff, but I'm so broken over here. And it's like, well, yeah, like Crystal said, maybe we can't do lifetimes worth of healing, generations worth of clearing energy in a couple of months or a couple of years or even a couple of decades. But if we acknowledge, yeah, I'm progressing, and these are the next things that are rising as opportunities for up leveling. So please use those tools if they resonate with you folks.
I'm going to add to that tool really quickly here. If you check out the interview that we did with Bliss yesterday, I run us through a quick percentage game tool, which is also very useful and very handy because we see very quickly through our hearts and through our bodies how much like percentage of time we're giving to different challenging aspects of our lives, and then rewiring what we could be actually putting in that percentage of time to be up leveling us and supporting us. A really lovely little tool that we use in the Conscious Evolver program. So check that out. And I feel like this also leads into our next question about spell casting with our language.
Whoa,
Yeah.
Okay. Before we do that, I just wanted to say I love those examples. I love when we give practical things, and I hear practical things. That's very helpful for us all. And I love that labyrinth analogy, Ashala. It feels like it also connects with what I was saying about alchemy, that when I using that word, realize that what it's meaning is that nothing is ever wasted, that life is for you, not to you or against you. That wording that you were using, Ashala, where it's like, oh, I'm never getting ahead or something like that. It is very important to shift that wording and to allow yourself that up leveling, and taking the fact that if you're alchemizing things, we're taking the message that is our own personal GPS system, how you're feeling about something. If you're feeling stuck, use that energy, use what you're given to alchemize and switch. What am I going to take this energy up? It's actually like something
yeah,
useful that I can work with. And
yes.
how do I want to mold it and shift it?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, oh yeah, and then I do love how this transitions into language and spell casting.
I'm
We're
so
all
curious about
Future
what
of
oracle card you pull,
language.
Anita. I'm really curious.
I'm going to let you shuffle there
Okay.
too.
Well, first of all, I have to say we're getting everything today that I've pulled on so far. We're getting root chakra work. It's like we're rebuilding the base of who we are, how we're doing things, where we're coming from.
Yeah.
What does our foundation look like? What does our home look like? what is, yeah,
Where do
like
we get our food from? What time system do we work with? Yeah.
All of it.
yes. And
Oh, yeah.
so
Okay.
part of this is going to be, so if you see which root chakra card for this one, it's possessions, which is very interesting because I feel like it's a double meaning here, because the spells literally is like a possession of
Mhm.
our being and helps us be the matrix programmed part of the uh, institutionalized system
Mhm.
by allowing that, and it literally through physical possessions too, in talking about where we're shopping and all these things. It's like, what really matters? Well, food and shelter, really. Like everything else is just a bonus. Oh great, I have a couch to sit on, I have, those things. It's like, but really when we take it down to the foundational level, we have pure joy in having our needs met with ease and
Mhm.
an integrity around us. Those things are important, so that it's feeling like that's addressing the duality that spell casting through language has put upon us. And then I get study and learning. What are we going to study and
Mm.
learn about so that we can transition these things? Being aware, but not getting caught up either. Because I find that sometimes then that's just another bonus to keep us divided and confused, is to, oh, let's have them really be uh, sidetracked by looking at what word can I use, or what is that? Oh, the weekend means that it's you're weak. So I don't want to say weak because that's part, and it's a homonym.
Yeah.
There is another word they use these days. I know my kids, there's another word they use for homonyms, but words that
Yeah.
are sound the same but are spelt different and different meanings. That's part of the spell casting. So it almost feels like a taking it back energetically too. It's like,
Mhm.
let's be aware and not use things that are really problematic if we can avoid them, but also be forgiving and not too rigid. Because what also I pulled was clear, cancel, and release. So that's
Mm.
very profound for spell casting, right? So we're
Whoa.
yeah, we're
Yes.
clearing all the past programming, and that's what it feels like was coming through with that, releasing the old programming and then spell the power of the spell. We're releasing that. However, we still have work to do in, I like saying inner standing instead of understanding when I remember to do it. I'm not
Yeah.
I'm not going to be really hard on myself if I say understanding, but I feel like that transition to, it's an inside job and focusing on I understand it from within, as opposed to I'm under it trying to
Mhm.
stand and I can't, like that kind of spell casting.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
I'm not allowing the power of understand anymore, but I do like embracing.
Mhm.
Yeah, that doesn't have power anymore. But I
Yeah.
do like embracing something new, like inner standing, and talking about that more. And someone goes, "Oh, what
Mhm.
did you say?" And it's like, inner.
Totally.
I'm getting it from within. So yeah,
Totally. And there's so many fun. I love what you said about it could be fun for us to
yes,
recast some of
Mhm.
these words and ways that they're used. And I want to speak a little bit more on the like learning.
mm,
But I really want to hear what
Yeah.
Crystal pulls too
Sure. Let's
before
have a
I
look. Should I do a Kachina?
sure, why
I was
not?
feeling it. Let's see. This is a big one. You
mm.
know, I mean, no small questions here. Let's begin.
Well, you know what makes me think of? Bruce
Mm.
Lee. Bruce Lee had a strong connection to like the Tao Te Ching, and he would quote from it and say things like "be like water," like just, and it's like, oh, what does that mean? And this is something when we talk about practices that we can develop, when we might have an idea of meditation being, oh, it's boring, or um, I I can't do it, or any of these things that come up. But how about trying pondering and philosophizing on something that resonates with you? That can be anything, but be
Yeah.
like water is one of the things that I like to reflect on. What is water like? Oh, it flows. It has ease, but yet it has power and force and can wear down and create a path. And so again, these are the things that we can bring into how we use language. As always, with everything we talk about, what intention are you bringing forward and through, and what are you envisioning for your future through it?
Absolutely beautiful. I love that. And those cards, the possession and the like, just the blocking of, like that we can stop. And it's interesting, right? It's very interesting when you practice and just play with things like, well, the inner standing, or some of the other words that we've shifted around, right? It's like it starts off just being a bit of a casual joke, right? Like, oh,
Yeah.
check this out, I've got a new word for this and it sounds cool, right? And then after a while, it becomes a habit. It's because, you know what? Our hearts like to hear it. They like it. They're like, I like the sound of that. It feels better to say it that way. And
I like saying grand rising or good day instead of good morning, because morning puts us in mourning. Even though if you have good intentions around it, I'm not going to be like, oh, I'm not going into mourning. I'm not at that point when I'm like wanting to correct people. I'm just making the choices that, just like you said, it makes my heart sing to be like, this feels great to say.
It's fun to play with the words, right? To play with the words.
And you know what? It's so cool because so many people are starting to do all of this. Like all of these terms that we're speaking about are not just what we've talked about. It's like so many people in our lives are doing it. One that I continued to do throughout the years was, I noticed that a lot of people say, I can't wait. And I have continued to say, I'm looking forward to, I'm looking forward to, I'm looking forward to. And it's just those little, and now it's second nature to me. I never say I can't wait for anything. I just am always like, I'm looking forward to, I'm so excited about. And it's just those little tweaks along the way that we're starting to share with each other. And sometimes I do correct people on things that they say, but I'm not like, you shouldn't say that. I'm like, oh, could we get curious about maybe rewording that a little bit like this? How does that feel for you? Right?
Yeah.
And
like I never say to my kids, don't forget. I say, remember. Well, and not just with my kids, but I think of that often because it's like setting the tone for them. It's like, remember, instead of putting don'ts and a challenge onto it. But also being forgiving and understanding around it. So,
It is. It's a delicate dance. What are you seeing there, Crystal? What did you
speak your speaking.
Speak by speaking?
Yeah.
Okay. She got the speak by speaking. Well, okay, you were talking about learning, and there's a couple of things that I think we can do with language, particularly the English language, and that one of them is to play with etymology. So etymology is basically where there's a dictionary. You can find one online, or you can buy an old-fashioned hard copy etymology dictionary. And whenever you notice a word that just is like, gosh, I wonder where that word came from. It's a strange word. Look up the origin of the word, because there you start to get clued in to what you're agreeing to as you go about your life. Like, for example, I think I talked last week about mortgage, engaged till your death with your financial arrangement with the bank, right? Husband and wife.
Yeah.
Death pledge, right? Husband and wife is like the words related to that are really not so great. They're all about ownership and belonging to the state and the head of the land and all that kind of stuff. So we can start to play around with, all right, maybe I'm going to refer to these people in my life, or I'm going to talk about my home and my agreement with the bank, maybe not just use this term, oh yeah, I have a mortgage. We could use a term like, I'm currently in an arrangement with the bank around the ownership of my house. And I'm curious to up-level that and have more sovereignty in that relationship, or something like that. It's like, you could say, oh, well, that takes so long to say that, but good, right? Because then we're going to have these conversations. We're going to start talking about, why did you say all that? Why did you make a big deal about that? And the person's going to say, do you ever notice how we go around and just agree? Oh, what's your mortgage? Oh, yeah, that mortgage rate, blah, blah, blah. It's like we just talk about this stuff. We don't even know what we're saying.
Mhm.
So it starts wherever you are. Get playful, get curious, and, you know,
It's like a game.
It's a game.
Start seeing the other ways that you could say things. Aubrey Marcus has done a couple of interviews with this incredibly sweet, magical woman that has devoted her whole life to this spell casting language and learning all about it. I don't know her name off the top of my head, but I can have a look for the videos. And if you even just go on to Aubrey Marcus's podcast and look up spell casting with our words, like, they are so enjoyable to watch, and it really kind of lights you up. Like, wow, she's got so many cool perspectives, and she makes it very magical and playful and fun to integrate into stepping forward into this.
And then we don't feel like victims, right?
Yeah.
Like, but we are definitely, I feel as though with these cards, these 2 sevens, we're certainly at a place where it's time to wrestle this back, because it almost feels as though coming up here in this next phase, what I'm hearing is there's something supercharged about the way we speak, like more than ever before in our lifetimes, in our memory. This time, this next 7 or 8 years is going to really be pivotal, meaning that the words you used 10 years ago, not as impactful as coming up in the next 7. It's going to be like essential that we clear a lot of this and heal and grow beyond this. And the other thing I want to say quickly about the English language in particular is that it is one of what stems from the origin of the Indo-European language family. And basically, if you go back to ancient Indo-European and Proto-Indo-European, it's the beginning of the first language that then spread. A lot of languages in Europe have their origins with the Indo-European language roots. And it was the first language that created a separate self, a verb to be. I am separate. So that is like a kind of a fracture that it just spread throughout our whole world with the spread of this language and the value system that goes along with I am separate. It was necessary. I believe we needed to go into separate self-identity, but I think we need to really learn the impact of that at this point and notice what it is that we're saying.
It's burnt us out. We're feeling the continued dysregulation with this, like 5, the chaos and change, that dysregulation in our nervous systems. And we're noticing now, we're re-strategizing how we're speaking to each other and to ourselves and spell casting our lives. Oh, it's very cool stuff. So exciting.
So cool. So cool. We're coming up to our hour, so I think I did notice that somebody's got their birthday, and she wants
happy birthday, Minnie.
Yeah, so we'll just pull a couple of cards for you, and then I think we're going to sign off for today.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Go ahead. I just wanted to say, someone was saying, I feel like what Angela was saying here with, I've been feeling like the TV show Friends must be spell casting or using subliminal messaging. It's never gone off the air. And when millennials push back against it, it's on more than ever. I love your noticing, your awareness around it. And I feel we can expand upon that, not just to Friends. It's a good example, but everything that we've been programmed with our TV programs, TV shows, we've been programmed, we chose TV channels, we were channeled into. It is definitely all part of the original agenda. But if you want to get really big and profound about it, how I've been shown, one of the shows that I love to watch, or have, because I've watched it multiple times, is Loki. Through Marvel, which is on Disney, which we can be like, oh, Disney, and then we can also be like, well, if we're taking over existing systems instead of just building from scratch, is it actually built in? And how I've been shown is even changing timelines and inserting, much like our DNA being tampered with at some point, that there are a lot of good spells that have been plugged in. So there might have been an initial dark agenda, or we know Project Mockingbird. Is that the one around news? Or is that the, well, either way, news is the same because it's that programming aspect. And we know that that was, Hollywood was developed with the CIA around all of the, how can we take advantage of this? And people feel it's benign, but really it's adding, you know, programs. So I feel like it's both. It's definitely, there was not a good agenda, but even, and I say maybe more recent stuff is for the higher, but even going back, I've been shown like time travelers, so to speak, going in and inserting things. So, all right. Birthday, would you believe it that I got another root chakra? Another root chakra card, grounding, which came up. It was one of the first ones that came up. I didn't always talk about the root chakra with all the questions, but grounding. So finding your, your true nature, being really present with yourself, Mimi, and everyone who's either celebrating a birthday tomorrow or just wants to tune in to the energy. There's so much that brings, when it feels good from your core through everything, it sends ripples out. And so then I got live your joy. Oh, yeah. Yeah. So just really, again, embracing. And there's one more here, vulnerability and freedom. Another beautiful one. It almost like feels like connected to the live your joy, but through where can you be vulnerable and sharing, and also, reaching for the stars. Like how are you choosing to up level to create freedom and sovereignty for yourself tomorrow, on your birthday, and for everyone, and for all of us moving forward, like everyone to be able to tune in, even though this is a lovely little birthday wish for you, Minnie.
Yes. Well, thank you, Anita. And interestingly, tomorrow is September 11th. So that is also a very powerful date, timestamp in our collective consciousness. And those to me feel like beautiful. It's almost the same. That's so interesting, except not so much the grounding, but that's just a very beautiful way to approach like our vulnerability and our joy while staying grounded and not going into continuing to I want to say feed the narrative of disempowerment around all that transpired after that date and connected to that date. So see what Crystal's pulled here.
I feel like continue to step into your inner child and go into curiosity and take these sacred pauses to find your take these sacred pauses to find your internal yes, and start to say yes to life in a new way moving forward. This is a new beginning here. And the yes card. So it's just like taking that sacred pause and who am I going forward into this next 50 plus years of my life, possibly, right? With some more playful curiosity and lightheartedness and coming into the flow.
So beautiful.
Exciting.
Thank you, everyone. This has been such a special live every week. If we just don't know what to expect, and it's always exactly what I feel like what we all need.
Yes.
So please remember, like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel so we can keep coming here every week and sharing with you. And also, please check out the sale information below and the other videos to watch that have just been put up. So have a lovely week, everybody. We'll look forward to seeing you here again